Okay, on Saturday, we've got a Clemson-Georgia showdown taking place. Georgia, this was a close game a year ago in the opener, and yet Georgia is an 8.5-point favorite for this one. It's down a little bit to 7.5. Clemson 58 was the total. It's now 57.5. It's a pair of top 20 teams meet when they met last year. Clemson was a dog at home, but they won the game 38-35. Georgia had 540 yards. Clemson 467. Aaron Murray was sacked 4 times, but, Harvard, these teams aren't quite as strong offensively as the year ago because they lost some of their best players in the backfield.
Well, Aaron Murray won't be getting sacked this year in this game. He has moved on. Here's the basic thing to do when you're handicapping. The first thing that you do this early in the season is you look at the conferences. The first thing is I play against the ACC when they're coming up against the SEC. That's the first thing that it's like a rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. It's like 2 different leagues. I don't care what the names are and all that stuff. When you've got an SEC playing at home against an ACC team, I'm going to look for that and give them, quite a bit of attention. The second thing is you're going to have this running back really taking the place of all the offense for Georgia. Todd Gurley, he is probably going to rush for 150 yards or more this coming weekend. He's a superstar. Last year, he averaged 6 yards per carry, and that's with them passing a lot and all that. He's going to be the workhorse, the workload, and everything. It's going to be a very conservative offensive plan. It's going to be 6 yards and 2 clouds of dust instead of 3 yards and a cloud of dust like they normally do. The third thing is there's a little revenge factor. There's nothing better than revenge. If this game had been played in the 3rd or 4th game of the year, I wouldn't even consider it revenge because they wouldn't have had all summer, all spring, and all summer to point to this one game. This game's been circled. If it was circled in October, it wouldn't mean as much. But it's circled, and this is the only game they've been focusing on and playing for and practicing for the last 4 or 5 months. The last thing I do is I put a lot of value on what happened last year and how does that affect the money and how does that affect what the odds makers are going to make the line. Well, last year, Georgia was 8-5. They're very undervalued. This game potentially, when you look at what Clemson has and what they've got coming back and everything versus what Georgia, how they're going to play, the SEC, playing at home, under revenge and everything, this game could have been even handicapped a little higher. The odds could have been 8.5, 9, maybe even 10. But I'm going to go ahead and take 7.5 or lay the 7.5 points because I really believe that we're getting value in this, even though we're laying what looks like, it appears like 7.5 against another top 20 team. Don't worry about that. That's what the odds maker wants the public to think.
Okay, I like this Georgia backfield, too, with Gurley. And this offensive line was very strong last year for the Bulldogs. They allowed only 22 sacks. Their linebacker core on defense is very good, although they only had 15 takeaways last season. But I mentioned that Aaron Murray was taken down 4 times by this Clemson defense. So the offensive line for Georgia only gave up 22 sacks, but 4 of them were to this Clemson defense. And, boy, I love what this Clemson defense has. They bring back their entire starting front line. Brent Venables is in his 3rd year as coordinator, and as explosive as the offense was last year, this Clemson D was terrific, too. They gave up 22.2 points per game. That was 24th in the nation. Vic Beasley had 13 sacks, and he is back. So I see this as a more of a defensive run-oriented game and more even. I'm going to have a small lean toward the underdog in this one, but I also like the total going under. That'll be my best bet on the show. Clemson, Georgia, under the total. And Harvard, what best bets do you have for this weekend?
Well, I'm going to go into a Saturday game. Virginia, they're hosting UCLA. There's a couple factors about that. If you remember last year, the first game that Virginia hosted was against BYU. Look at the time that they're playing this game. Anytime a team from the West Coast has to play to the East, you really have to look at that time start. They're starting at 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock noon Eastern time, which converts to 9 o'clock California time. That means you have to get up at 4:30 to 5 to have your pregame breakfast. Then you have to get on ready. You have to get on the buses. Then you have to get going to the stadium. Then you have your workout and everything. So you're really up at 4:30 to 5 o'clock. That's what your body's telling that you're up on the West Coast time. Now you're supposed to go out there and play a great game, which I'm sure they will, but also lay 21, 22, 23 points, and I'm sure that line will move up against a team like that playing at home. Now, when they did that with BYU last year, I don't believe they won. I can't remember, but I remember that Virginia did cover the spread quite easily. The point spread was never even in doubt. The other thing is Brett Hundley. This guy is one of the best quarterbacks that you'll see in the country for UCLA. However, anytime you get a quarterback like this playing on the road in a meaningless game at the first of the year, how long is he going to play? If I knew he was going to play all four quarterbacks, that would be another factor. But I know for a fact this guy might not make it to the third quarter because they're going to take him out because they're going to be up substantially, and it allows for easy covering 21 points. It allows for backdoor covers, allows for the whole fourth quarter to see some other stuff where their second and third stringers might make some mistakes and help us a little bit. So with 9 starters back on the Virginia team, that's the other factor. I want to sit there and say, if they didn't have any starters, well, then maybe Hundley would pick them apart. But because they have 9 returning starters on defense, I think that's going to allow for an easy cover. In fact, I'm not sure that UCLA at any given point during this game will be up 21 to 24 points covering the spread. So it could be a fact that we have easy cover the entire contest.
All right.
So my best bet is taking Virginia.
Great stuff. Couple of best bets for the weekend. Remember, Jim Feist has an SEC TV Total Crusher going Thursday. If you like to play totals, he also has a 3-team College Power Parlay. That's 3 Thursday games, all for the price of 1, and a Friday college football rivalry game of the month. Those plays and more available now at jimfeist.com. Harvard, speaking of hot streaks, 14-3 for the month of August. You also have a football handicapping class that starts up, so how can folks get aboard?
Well, first of all, let's talk about Thursday again. We got the San Francisco, Houston, Texas game, and I tell you right now, let's get kicked off of that game. I'm going to have information. It might not be today or tomorrow. It might be as late as Thursday around 1, 2 o'clock Pacific time. But there's going to be an influx of money coming in on that contest, and I want to make sure you get that game. Then Saturday, I have my opening week. I've spoken a lot about mismatches. I've talked about the value, point spreads, money coming in, how the perception is from last year, how many graduates and stuff. There's one team that they really, and you know another thing, John, they can afford to miss some of these small college teams when they're playing bigger college teams because the public isn't going to bet them anyway. Well, that's what the professionals like to look. We like to look at a little school that is just going to absolutely shock somebody because they got everybody back. They were on a momentum roll last year. And this is a team that I have for Saturday. But also coming up, not this week, but the following week, this is probably one of the best things that any handicapping professional has been able to be part of. It's my Harvard School of Handicapping. Now, you might wonder, what is this? Am I sharing secrets? Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that I can teach you. I've been in this business for 31 years. I've seen it all. I'm still here. I'm one of the few that's outlasted everybody else. But one thing I like to do is, from my education background and everything, I like to teach and I like to show you how you can learn. I would love to have you guys, everybody out there, where you can handicap games on your own. So basically, I've set up a 4-week class every 4 weeks. So September, if you go on to under the School of Handicapping on the jimfeist.com website, you can look at the curriculum for the next 4 weeks. So like week 1, there's certain things that the handicappers will put out there in week 1 that they wouldn't even talk about in week 2 or week 3 or week 4. It's like week 3. We might be talking about all the NFL 0-2 teams and what that means to go 0-3 or 1-2 and focus in something like that. Week 1, we might be talking about a lot of NFL defenses on the NFL side, but we also might be looking at a lot of the blowouts on the college side. Each week it changes. There's going to be key college football blowouts as we progress into the handicapping the NFL. One thing I will tell you, if you like to bet big favorites the first 2 weeks of the season, get them done, get them out of the way, because by week 3, the odds makers are going to start taking those value points away from you because they know the public loves to bet favorites. They love to bet blowouts, and they'll let you win. There's no problem. The first 2 weeks, they like when you win because now they got you kind of like, I don't want to say hooked or trapped or something like that, but they're giving you a reason to gamble for the rest of the year. So they're going to build your confidence for you, build your bankroll, and things like that. So we're going to look at some of those games, and we're going to attack that number in week 1. Week 2 is going to change, where we're going to be talking about good teams win, but bad teams cover. We're going to start going into why teams cover spreads like that. By the time we get to week 3 and 4, we have to have you flipping from a public bettor to a smart money bettor. Now, the basis of this is I will send out all the written material, all email every Wednesday by 3 o'clock. You'll sit there and get to read it, go over it. There's questions, answers that you'll have to submit, get back to me. Also, you'll be getting all my games for Saturday and Sunday. And along with that, I want to see your games and your write-up, one each Saturday and one each Sunday. And we'll be analyzing each one of your games because I'm teaching you how to do this on your own. And you're going to find out all the stuff that Vegas does not want to show you. And finally, let me ask you this, John. I'm sure you've been around long enough. When you go up to the sports book and you want to make a major play, have you ever had that sports writer say, hold on 1 minute, let me go and check, and they turn around and they go in that back room?
He runs in the back room, right?
They run in the back room. They don't go in there and have a sip of coffee. They're running in the back room. They want to know who you are, what you're betting, who it is, how much you want to bet, and things like that. And that's just for some of the players that are a little bit bigger than average. Can you imagine what they're doing when somebody really wants to go out and step out and bet 10,000 and higher on a game? These are the things that I want to teach you. Who is fooling who? Who's making the bets? Follow the money trail. And you're going to learn how to follow the money trail. And this is not disparaging marks on the public, but the public does not win. If the public won, there would be no Vegas. There would be tumbleweeds still rolling down Las Vegas Boulevard. But that's not the case. The public's not going to win. The smart money is. The balance of the smart money might equal the exact amount of money that the public loses. So you're going to have, it could be that 4 guys have 100,000 on a game for 400,000, and 100,000 guys have the same amount, but just all in smaller bets. And I want to take you from being one of those smaller bets all the way up to where you're betting a little bit more. You don't have to sit there and risk your family and your house and things like that, but just be smart about it. Follow the money and lose that ego. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about anybody. What it is, it's about betting against the public. They will show you, if you know where to go and where to look, how to find these games that you have to be betting against.
Yeah, the Vegas odds makers are no dummies. You can't learn how to do this stuff in a couple weeks or even one season. And you've been doing this, Harvard, for more than 2 decades.
31 years. I'm going to be sharing stuff each and every week that people have been wanting to know about the money trail, offshore betting, what happens in the back room, how to handicap it, how to create value, when to sit there and recognize that, you know what? They don't want you to win this game. They're absolutely telling you. I can tell you right now, and you're going to learn this probably in week 3. If you take the 7 o'clock ESPN game on Saturday, there's a pool of losers every single Saturday. And it doesn't have to be the same guys in the same pool. However, some of them are. But it's a pool. When you start to see that Saturday line start to move, they can only be betting favorites on a Saturday night game. They're not going to pull a trigger on an underdog because the public won't bet underdogs. And you start watching the money moving in, and all of a sudden you see a line, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. That's that same pool laying that late night game on a favorite. And I'm telling you right now, you want to turn around and take the plus 7.5, plus 8, plus 9, because that's just one more loser for that day of losers that the public creates. And I'm going to show you where to go, how to do it, what to look for, and how to handicap on your own. I don't think Jim will be mad because he does it this way. I don't think I'll be mad if you quit buying mine and go into the school and learn how to handicap on your own, because you know what? There'll be someone else taking your place that's going to need our help. And I don't even mind that we teach you how to do it. I'm sure some of you out there might even teach me a little bit. There's going to be some guy in the month of September submits me his 8 plays for the month. Who knows? He might go 8-0. He might go 7-1. He might be lining himself up for another career working at JimFeiss.com handicapping sports. One of the best things I like about handicapping sports is I get to tell my wife every Saturday night, no, we can't go out dancing tonight. I have to watch football. It's my job. And with that, I'll leave it at you. Just go to look for the criteria that we put down, all the curriculum, the tuition charge, and everything at the Harvard School of Handicapping 2014 football. It's all relative to each and every week. The criteria changes every single week. All fresh and all points to that particular week. And that's how we do it out here in Las Vegas for 31 years.
And if you want more information, just go to jimfice.com. At the top of the website, you'll see a drop-down menu for handicappers. Drop-down menu, go to Harvard, and Harvard has plays for the upcoming weekend as well as information details on his 2014 football handicapping school. All right, make sure you take advantage with all of the Vegas experts on that site, and make sure you tune in next week for another edition of the NFL version of ProLine. We'll see you then.